How does a kiss in a dark corner at my husband's birthday end, with a man saying my full name in a bright lobby and handing me a DNA test notice? Why did one night I called a blur turn into rules, dates, and a schedule that tells me when to show up and what to bring? Before we dive deeper into the story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible stories. I'm Evadne Orison, 32, the front desk smile at a physical therapy clinic. I live with my husband, Jonah Cade, and our daughter, Mina. Our townhouse is small and neat, with a wall planner I keep tidy because tidy means calm. I tell people we are fine. I tell myself the same thing when the rooms feel stiff. I got drunk at Jonah's birthday party. I slipped away to the smoking patio with his old friend Rafe. I called it a blur the next morning. I said the music was loud and the angle of the phone was unfair. Jonah asked how long I was gone. I said I did not wear a watch to a party. He asked if I was safe. I said he was being dramatic. In my head, words fix pictures. Weeks later, the test stick turned pink. I told myself timing is messy. I said stress can move dates. I said distance at home makes everything confusing. Jonah moved a pillow to the guest bed for sleep. Mina asked why the other door closed at night. I said Daddy snores. My sister said I overthink. His mother sent a list of routines for Mina and no emojis. On the fridge planner, a pencil note appeared that read Downtown 9:20. I asked if it was an errand. He said it was his day. His phone lit with meeting, personal, and then went dark. I told myself it was nothing. I told myself the truth is what I say out loud. The kitchen was bright and steady. I wiped the counter even though it was clean and put out 2 mugs, mine by the kettle and his closer to the sink. 2 mugs mean marriage. That is how I like to start a morning. The wall planner sat beside the fridge with neat boxes. A new pencil line had appeared, Downtown 9:20. I ran my finger over the numbers like they were mine. I asked if it was a hardware errand. He said it was his day. I said of course and that I loved a man with plans. He did not smile. I told Jonah the party was noisy, the patio was crowded, and I only slipped out for air. He asked how long I was gone. I said I did not count minutes at my husband's birthday. He asked if I was safe. I said he was being dramatic and that friends were nearby. I said Rafe is a flirt and flirts with all women, not just me. I said the phone angle made things look worse than they were. I said, a blur is not a choice. My voice was smooth because smooth wins. He moved to the far counter and poured his coffee there, not beside me. I took that as an insult. I told him we should laugh about party people who film everything. He said we should think. I said, thinking is for people who do not have social skills. He did not answer. He set his mug down without sound. Silence has become his favorite tool. It makes me feel loud even when I whisper. Mina came in with messy hair and asked if we could have toast with honey. I said yes, and that we had a happy day ahead. She asked why Daddy slept in the other room again. I said Daddy snores, and Mommy needs rest to greet patients with a smile. Jonah said routines help everyone. I said there is no routine, life is a dance. Mina smiled at Honey and forgot the door. I want a life where people forget doors. I opened a drawer to get napkins and found a thin binder labeled Utilities. It was thicker than bills, thick enough to mean something. Inside were plastic sleeves with copies and tiny flags. I told myself Jonah was calming his mind. I told myself order is a hobby like jogging. Under the binder lay a sticky note that read, "Bring forms." I tossed it back and closed the drawer. The closing made a hush, like a stage curtain. In the hallway, I passed the guest room and paused. The bed was smooth, but the pillow had a dip. A dip means sleep and distance. I lifted my phone and looked at my gallery again. There was a blurred corner photo of the smoking patio, dark and grainy, with my face turned away and a shoulder too close. I told myself it was a trick of light. I moved it into a hidden album so I wouldn't keep seeing it. Hiding helps truth breathe. I made lunches in bright boxes and talked about the clinic like I always do. I said patients need my warmth, and I have to be good at warmth. Jonah asked if I had a doctor's appointment soon. I said I could schedule one later and that cycles are strange when you are stressed. He nodded once. He did not ask more. When men stop asking, they think they know. I prefer to be the one who decides what is known. Tilly texted a row of hearts and wrote that people blow after parties out of proportion. I showed Jonah her message. I said even my sister agreed it was chaos, not betrayal. He said sisters protect sisters. I said husbands should do the same. He said he protects children first. The line was clean and heavy. I said I was also a parent, and he was turning me into a suspect. He said we would talk later. Later is his favorite promise, because it means never in the way I like. Before he left, his phone lit with meeting. Personal for a breath and then went dark. I asked if he had a work thing. He said it was personal. I said personal is us. He said personal is him. He picked up his bag. The zipper teeth looked straight like a spine. He set his mug in the sink and rinsed it. I wanted him to argue so I could win the argument. He would not meet me on that field. Mina hugged his leg and asked if he would be home for bedtime. He said yes. I said we are a team. He said teams follow rules. I said teams follow leaders, and I am good at leading rooms back to joy. He did not answer. He kissed Mina's head. He nodded to me. He walked down the hall. The guest room door swung a little from the draft and then settled. When it shut, the latch made a small click, a private sound that said something had closed inside him too. My phone lit with a text preview from an unknown number. It flashed once, and then deleted itself before I opened it, leaving a shape on my eyes that looked like a warning. Work is where I control air. I smile at people in pain and they calm down. That is my trick. The clinic front desk is glass on 3 sides, like a stage you can wipe clean. I wore soft colors and said good morning to the first wave. I told myself I would turn the whole story back with 1 day of competence. Priya, my manager, sent a calendar invite titled Quick Word at 10:30. I accepted and wrote in my head, off hours are off limits, video angles lie, my husband is stressed, I am steady. At 10:30, we sat in the small office with the glass door closed. She asked how I was. I said excellent. She asked if I was aware of a tagged clip from the birthday night. I said yes, and that it was taken at a bad angle during a loud moment. She asked if I understood that patients follow staff online, and that the clip looked intimate. I said the internet hunts women for sport. I said it was a blur, not a choice. I said my husband knows me. She asked me to be mindful for a while and limit public posts. I said I would consider it, and I smiled the kind of smile that sounds like a policy. I walked out feeling like I had won because there was no paper. At the desk, a regular patient said he saw a rooftop reel and asked if the clinic hosted events. I laughed and said families host events. We are lively people. He praised my energy. I took it as proof. I messaged Jonah that work was fine and that his coldness made me look guilty. I pressed send and watched the little bubble hang. He did not reply. People think silence is neutral. It is not. It leans toward whoever speaks last, and I had spoken. At lunch, I walked to the pharmacy for water and crackers. The lights were bright and the shelves tall. Jonah met me there because I asked. He asked about Mina's week. I said this was not a logistics meeting. This was us. He said us includes logistics. I said us includes kiss and makeup. He said he would not pretend feelings for show. I said show is how people survive. He watched me with a face that did not fight. I prefer fighters because I know how to win with fighters. His phone lit with a call that showed as private. He stepped outside and put on headphones. He paced under the pharmacy awning, speaking low, the glass door between us. I could not hear words. I called that rude in my head. When he came back, he asked if I had what I needed. I said I needed my husband to say he trusted me. He said trust rests on facts. I said facts are just lines. People write them to fit their fears. He suggested we split school pickup and bedtime and check in later. I said yes in a tone that meant no. On the way back, Mr. Leon from the HOA stood by the magazine rack. He asked if we were doing okay. I said we were wonderful and laughed too loud. He nodded and looked at the cover of a home magazine as if it were more interesting than my story. I hate when people choose paper over me. It feels like a vote. After work, I came home to the soft hum of the printer. It spat out a single blank page. The smell of toner hung in the room like cold dust. I asked Jonah if the printer was broken. He said he was testing it. I said paper is dramatic when you use it to make a point. He didn't take the bait. He moved the blank sheet to the recycle stack and wiped his hands like the act had meaning. His laptop sat open on the dining table. A spreadsheet showed initials and dates in tidy rows. The second I stepped closer, he minimized the window. He asked me not to use his computer. I said I was not using it. I was passing by. He said he needed to keep track of tasks, and he does better when he sees them in one place. I said I can be his place. He said clarity helps him stay calm. I said clarity is a cage with clean bars. He looked at the wall clock and said we would talk later. A reminder ping flashed on his phone and vanished. I caught the title, Meeting Personal. A minute later, a calendar block slid into view and then dimmed. Downtown 1350. I said he was being mysterious for no reason. He said he was being careful. I said, careful makes a marriage look like an office. He said, offices are where people get work done. I said, homes are where people forgive. He said he has a daughter to protect. That line never leaves room for my favorite tactics. I went to the kitchen and staged 2 mugs again, one near the kettle, one by his elbow's usual place. He moved around them like they were cones on a practice field. I took a photo and posted it with a caption about teamwork. Priya messaged me a simple note, consider stepping back from posts for a bit. I told her I would think about it. I did not think about it. Tilly texted a boomerang from the birthday party with the caption, we were all there. She added a laughing emoji and a heart. I added the clip to my story and wrote that friends know the truth. Jonah walked in, saw my screen, and said he would not argue online with me. I said I was just telling our side. He said there is no our side on the internet, only waves. I called that poetic and useless. He said the word later again. I hate a clock without hands. In the stairwell that evening, I carried laundry up and heard footsteps pause on the landing above me. A faint beep cut off. It sounded like a recording app stopping. I looked up and saw Jonah turn his phone face down and step away. I asked if he was recording me. He said he was making notes. I said notes are for strangers. He said notes are for staying calm. I said calm is a trick men use when they want to look noble. He asked if I was done with the laundry. I said yes, even though a shirt hung off the basket like a flag. I decided to retell the birthday night like a lesson I could control. People kept sending clips and asking what really happened on the rooftop. I said I would post a cheerful thread later. I said memories are better when shaped by someone kind. I meant me. In my version, the private room was warm, the cake sparkled, and I was only a wife who loved the crowd. The flashback came easy. Rafe sat up near the wall and called for a song Jonah liked from college. I lifted my glass and everyone laughed because I always lived first. I said, birthdays need brave toasts. Jonah stood behind me with a quiet smile that did not reach the edge of his face. I chose to see the smile, and not the edge. The room chanted for a speech. I said, love is work and parties are our reward. People clapped before I finished the line because clapping is easier than listening. The song got loud. I stepped toward the door for air. The smoking patio was crowded and messy with wind. Rafe followed with a joke about the night. I said I could barely hear him. I put my hand on the wall because heels wobble on old concrete. His shoulder was near the place where my balance should have been. I said that to myself later. Balance, not touch. In the doorway, someone held up a phone. The light came white and quick. It made the moment look like a choice when it was only a lean. Inside, we cut the cake. I fed Jonah a forkful and said we were a team. He took the plate and thanked me without saying the line I wanted. Rafe tapped a beat on the table and said college never ends. I said married life has better snacks. People laughed. I let myself be a spark, because sparks are seen. Jonah started collecting wrappers. I told myself that is love in his language. The next part of the flashback is the bad angle inside the phone. I stepped back toward the patio to thank the server and shield the cake with my body. Rafe leaned to ask if I was going to sing. My mouth went near his ear because rooms are loud. I remember thinking this will be a story. I did not think who would write it. The camera flash hit again. Someone said got it like they had caught a fish. After the party, the parking garage felt colder than the air. Jonah's car was already parked nose out like a runner facing the track. He opened the trunk to put away the gift bag Mina decorated. I smelled printer toner, that dry office smell that means something heavy, or maybe just a test page. A clipboard sat under his jacket for a second. The top sheet showed only one word: statement. I asked if he was journaling. He said notes kept things clear. I said clear is what happens when people go quiet to win. He shut the trunk softly. On the ride home in my own car, my phone buzzed with an unknown number. It rang once and stopped. A cloud sync bubble slid across the screen. File uploaded successfully. I told myself it was my photos backing up. When I reached the house, he was already inside with the lights on low. He tidied the cake plate, put away candles, and moved small things into straight lines. I watched him do it and felt like a crooked picture on a level wall. I posted my cheerful thread where I called it a blur and said parties wear strange clothes. I told the internet that people should rest. I told myself people would follow my voice. In the comments, someone wrote that the patio angle was not kind. I liked that reply. It made me feel seen by someone I did not know. Later, at the dining table, Jonah's laptop sat open with a spreadsheet of initials and dates. When I came near, he minimized it. He plugged in a small USB stick and then pulled it out, stuck a tiny piece of tape on it, and wrote the date. He placed it under a folder labeled taxes and closed the drawer. I asked why he collects little things like that. He said memory is safer when copied. I said memory is warmer when kept inside. He said warm can burn. His eyes stayed calm. A new time blinked on the phone by his elbow. Downtown 1610. He tapped to dismiss. I said he was building a secret life with office supplies. He said he was building a calm path for Mina. I said he was making me look like the problem. He said he was writing down what already was. The room felt like it had invisible fences. Family dinner felt like a test I could pass with charm. We met at a bright restaurant with paper menus and too many chairs. I wore a soft dress and told myself soft fabric makes soft moments. Sorka arrived in a steady coat and hugged Mina first. She greeted me with a small nod that carried rules inside it. Tilly rushed in late and kissed the air, saying fun fixes everything. I believed her for a second. The table filled with cousins and noise. I announced a quick toast to new beginnings. I said life is surprising and timing can be tricky, but love is the map. I kept my voice light and my eyes on Jonah. He kept his on Mina's cup, checking the lid. Sorka did not lift her glass. She asked how Mina was sleeping with the new routine. I said she sleeps fine and that children bend. Sorka said children read rooms before they read books. I laughed and called that poetic. The server brought food, and I made little jokes. I squeezed Tilly's hand under the table, and she squeezed back, then let go. Jonah asked Mina about school quietly. I leaned toward him and said, "We should tell everyone we are excited." He said we should tell the truth slowly. I said, "The truth is we are a family." He said the truth is, we need certainty. The word certainty sat heavy next to the bread. Mina looked at me and asked if the baby is Daddy's for sure. The room tilted. Forks paused. I said, grown-up timing is confusing and that everything will be fine. Jonah said we love Mina very much and will take care of her no matter what. Sorka placed her napkin down and said, routine helps children feel safe. I wanted the floor to open and swallow me, or at least the question. We ate after that because mouths need tasks. When the check came, Jonah put his card down without talking about anything else. The action sounded like a signature no one had to see. Tilly whispered that maybe I should slow down with posts. I said posts keep the story honest. She said phones keep stories alive longer than breath. She kissed my cheek and went to the restroom. She returned with eyes that would not meet mine. After dinner, we took Mina to the park for a short swing because I said air helps. The sky was pink and the slide looked like a ribbon. I tried to take a photo of a normal evening, but my hands shook. Mina asked why Daddy slept in the other bed. I said because of the snoring and long days. Jonah said changes can help people think clearly. Sorka said children need calm, not performances. I said I was calm. The word did not sound like itself when I said it. At home, the balcony held night air like a clean sheet. I brewed tea and set 2 mugs on opposite counters. I said we should make a plan to present unity. Jonah said he would be respectful and clear, not performative. I said clarity feels like punishment. He said boundaries are care. I said he liked rules more than people. He said rules protect people when feelings lie. The line slid under my skin. I walked into the living room and lifted his laptop lid by habit. The screen woke to a clean desktop with 2 folders named Archive A and Archive B. I stared at the names like they were a riddle. He came from the hallway and pressed the lid down gently. I said, archiving memories is creepy. He said archiving is how truth survives storms. I said storms pass. He said not if you keep feeding them. On the wall planner, a heavy red circle sat around Friday. Next to it, a small pencil note had appeared. Downtown 10 so. The different times felt like stones in my pocket. I wrote park under the circle like my handwriting could push time in another direction. Mr. Leon's porch light blinked across the street. Through our window, he paused at his mailbox, looked up, then looked away. My smile felt like something I had to hold with both hands to keep on. We needed milk, so I went to the supermarket with Mina. In the checkout line, a neighbor from the block glanced at my belly and then at the candy rack. She asked softly if we were excited. I said yes because any other word would fall. She said, children do best with a steady plan. I said plans change. She nodded at nothing. The scanner beeped like a metronome. I wanted to smash the beat. Back home, I carried groceries up the stairwell. Halfway up, I heard footsteps pause on the landing above. A faint beep cut off, the same quick sound I had heard before, like a recording app stopping when a door opens. I climbed faster. Jonah stood near the guest room, phone in his hand, face calm. I asked if he was keeping files on me. He said he was keeping notes on himself. I said that is the same thing. He said it was not. He stepped into the guest room. The door eased almost closed. I stood in the hall, balancing the bag on my hip. In the quiet, the house hummed like a machine that I did not understand. On the desk, I saw a small unfamiliar key next to his wallet. I picked it up and set it down again. The key felt like a word I did not speak. From the study, a cloud sync bubble flickered on his screen and disappeared. File uploaded successfully. I told myself it was nothing. I told myself words still outrun paper. I booked a small conference nook at a co-working space by the river and sent Jonah a shared invite. I wrote that we could meet at lunch to talk like adults. He arrived on time, steady as always, with that calm that makes me feel loud. I placed his favorite pastry on the table and said this was peace. He thanked me and asked about Mina's week, pickup, bedtime, library hour. I said we could do logistics later and start with a hug. He said mixed signals make more mess. I said love is a signal. He said safety is a bigger one. I leaned forward and told him the timing was confusing, but not proof. I said stress moves calendars. I said the test sticks can be wrong. He said certainty matters for Mina. I said certainty is a cage. He said certainty is what stops storms at the door. I said he was turning a family into a form. He did not rise. He kept his hands on his tablet like a person steering a small boat. He asked which days I could handle pickup this week. I named days without meaning the words. He nodded like a clerk. On the chair beside him lay a clipboard with one word at the top, statement. I tilted my head to read more. He moved the board a little without hurry. I asked why he needed paper to talk to me. He said notes help him speak gently. I said notes are how people hide knives. He said he would not argue in public. He said we would keep our voices low for Mina's sake. I said he was rehearsing for an audience that did not exist. We walked to the pharmacy next door because I said I needed crackers for nausea. The light there always feels too honest. His phone lit with a call labeled private. He stepped outside and put on headphones. He paced under the awning and looked at a point in the middle distance while his mouth moved slowly. I told myself he was talking to Dax about shipping routes. I also told myself he was planning a show against me. When he came back, he asked if I had what I needed. I said I needed him to say out loud that he believed me. He said he believed in process. I said process is cold. He said cold can be kind when heat burns people. In the parking garage under the building, he opened his trunk to put away his bag. 3 tidy binders sat in a row: home, auto, bank. Clear sleeves shone even in the dim light. A single USB stick had a small piece of tape with today's date. I said he was acting like a clerk at a courthouse. He said he was acting like a parent. On his keyring, a small unfamiliar key flashed. I asked what it opened. He said it opened what needed opening. I rolled my eyes and called him dramatic. He did not answer. We drove home in 2 cars again. In the hallway, I reached for his sleeve. He stepped back 1 polite inch. I said, a family needs touch. He said a family needs safe patterns. I said, safe is a word people use when they want to punish without looking mean. He said we would keep things steady for Mina. On his desk, a drawer clicked as he turned that small key. The sound was clean and final. His laptop showed tabs for a breath before he touched the trackpad. Storage options, delivery tracking, notary, near me. A cloud sync bubble flashed. File uploaded successfully. I stared at a plant leaf and pretended I saw nothing. I tried a new angle. I said I could fall apart if he kept distance. I said I might not eat. I said I might get sick. He watched my face and said he would not be moved by threats. He said if I needed help I should call my doctor or his mother, and he would drive me if needed. He said we would not use fear as a tool. I called him heartless. He said he was careful. I said careful is a costume. He said careful is a path. At dinner, I put a hand on his wrist while Mina told a story about a paper crown. He removed his wrist gently and asked her to show the crown. He washed dishes like a person counting. After bedtime, I stood in the doorway of the guest room and asked if this was our life now. He said we would follow a plan for Mina's sake. I said we were still married. He said marriage includes truth. I said truth is what we choose. He said we had chosen enough noise. I went to the balcony and took a photo of the skyline. I posted a caption about new seasons and strong love. Likes came slow. Tilly sent a message that she could not keep defending me. She added a sad face. Sorka texted a list of Mina's week: school, library, bedtime. No greeting, no sign-off, just the drumbeat of routine. I told myself routine is not love. I told myself my smile could still fix a room. Back in the hall, the shredder hummed for 3 slow seconds, and then went quiet. I walked into the study, He had closed the drawer and set the key beside his wallet. A pencil reminder flashed on his phone and vanished. Downtown 1525. I said he was building a theater. He said he would handle this properly. He said the word like a line he had practiced 100 times. I said properly is a slogan. He said properly is protection. He turned off the lamp. I decided to fix it in public where light makes people honest. I went to Jonah's office tower at lunch and waited near the badge gates. Marble floors made every step echo. Security screens glowed with names. I rehearsed a speech about love and new life and how people should mind their business. I told myself if I reached for his hand in front of everyone, he would remember the team we used to be. Dax came through first and saw me. He asked if I was meeting Jonah. I said yes, and that we would clear the air. He nodded and stood near a column with his eyes on the floor. Jonah appeared a minute later with his bag over his shoulder. He stopped 3 paces away. I stepped forward and said we should talk and end the distance. He said we would follow the plan. I asked what plan. He said the one that keeps things clear for Mina. I said clarity is a cage. He said clarity is protection. A man in a neutral jacket stood from a bench by the planter. He said my full name. The sound carried over the marble. He asked if I was that person. I said yes because I always say yes to my name. He handed a stack into my hands and said the delivery was complete. The top sheet was clean and heavy. The words were not loud, but they took the room. I looked down. It was a court-ordered DNA test notice. It set out dates within days, a testing site, a requirement to bring photo ID. It had lines about temporary rules, communication in writing about Mina only, no arguing at pickup, exchanges at school. It listed a time to appear and a warning about failing to show. My thumbs pressed the edge until the paper bent. The lobby stayed bright and ordinary. I felt small inside the brightness. I told Jonah we could go home and talk. He said we would follow the schedule. I said he was choosing strangers over his wife. He said he was choosing stability for Mina. I said Rafe meant nothing. He said the notice speaks for itself. I said he was humiliating me. He said public repair starts with rules when harm was public first. He thanked the server for being professional. The man nodded and stepped back toward a bench. People nearby pretended to look at their phones. My phone buzzed. Sorka's text said, "Routine helps Mina. Follow the plan." Tilly wrote that she could not fix this and that she loved me. I stared at both lines and could not make them change into what I wanted. I said to Jonah that we could keep this private. He said privacy would follow once we followed steps. He said the test was scheduled and we would show up. He said emails would confirm details. He kept his voice even, not cruel. The elevator bell chimed. Dax held the door while Jonah stepped back toward it. I reached out like distance could be solved by a hand. He did not take it. He said we would be okay if we followed the plan. He said he would see me at pickup according to the notice. He said to communicate in writing. I said I was scared. He said Mina would be fine with routine. The doors waited like a held breath. Security asked softly if I was okay. I said I was fine because fine is the word I always use. The word temporary, at the top of a second page, stared like a stamp. I felt the lobby air move around me while nothing else did. The elevator bell chimed again. Jonah said, "Take care." He stepped inside. The doors slid together with a quiet seal. Don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and turn on the bell so you don't miss the next story. Write in the comments from which city you are watching.